Alright everybody, hey, what's going on? It's Nazario here, but if you can't pronounce that, just call me Z, and today we're just going to be talking about this little big fella right here, who's starting to get a lot bigger now, and you already know who it is. Go ahead and say hello to him. This is Zebulon, everybody. Look how big he's gotten for one. He has actually gotten pretty darn big. He's almost about 3 feet now, and he's gotten to the point where I actually need to use like 2 hands to like hold him up now. So that's pretty darn cool. So pretty much today's video is pretty much going through this first year I've had him for. And forgive the camera, there's like a roof over me right now because I have the camera propped up. And the only reason I do have the camera propped up now is because it does take 2 hands to hold up Zebulon now. So today, this video is just going to be going through the few things that I learned since having Zebulon in my life, and I can't wait to show you guys this video. So without further ado, this is what I learned having Zebulon. Here's the first thing I learned since having Zebulon. So Zebulon was sold to me as a Nicaraguan dwarf boa. So I did a lot of research and, you know, thinking, okay, this is a dwarf's boa, he shouldn't get too much bigger than that whatsoever, boom boom boom. Then as I did more research within this first year of having him, I learned there's not quite really such thing as a Nicaraguan dwarf boa, because they are a part of that Central American boa, you know, family, but there's no such thing as a Nicaraguan dwarf, because technically all Central American boas are considered as dwarfs based on where they're from in the world. So I learned that his full size is going to end up being, you know, around 6-7 foot, perhaps, because I don't think he should get as big as, you know, his Colombian and Costa Rican cousins, but I could be wrong. But you know, he's not gonna get super duper big, but either way, I love him and there's no turning back now. So there's that. You guys can see how big he has gotten completely, because this snake is pretty darn big. 2, what I've learned having him for a full year now is how active he is. And as you guys can see, he's like crawling all over me, asking for kisses, quote unquote, all up in my face, on my face, on my neck. You get the point. I've learned that he is a very active, you know, little snake, and he's not even that little anymore, but I kind of knew what I was getting into when I decided on getting a boa as my first snake, because I really wanted something that's super duper active. Now, don't get me wrong, you can have a bunch of, you know, outliers in the ball python family and your corn snakes and a bunch of the berms, but for some reason, boas just always stuck out to me. Like, they were my first, you know, favorite snake as a kid. I absolutely love boa constrictors, and I just knew I had to have one day, even from a young age, even when my mom used to tell me, you ain't bringing a snake into the house, and sure enough, I ended up bringing a snake in the house. Also, side note, we made it to 200 subscribers and exactly 222 subscribers, which is freaking awesome. So I gotta say thank you to everybody who watched that recent vlog, who continues to support the channel, even on Instagram and, you know, on here. I wouldn't be here without you guys, and of course wouldn't be here without the Most High Jesus Christ. So thank you for that. Another thing I learned, number 3, the one thing I learned was his feeding pattern. I always learned from other people that boas don't necessarily refuse a meal, but there has been times where he actually refused meals. Like, there was a little stint back in February where he went the whole month without eating, because when I first got him, I had him on hopper mice, and he was pretty steady on those from November of last year when I bought him and brought him home, to December to January. Then February hit, he stopped, you know, eating. And I was like figuring out like, why is he not eating? Is he like, brumating or something? And everybody's like, boas don't really brumate because where they're from, they don't need to. So I was confused for a little bit. Then I decided to bump him up a size to what he's currently eating now, which is adult-sized mice, and bam, that's what it was. He just wanted the size bigger. So one of the things I learned since having him was literally that level of understanding what he's trying to tell me, what he wants and what he needs. Because if you don't know how to read your snake's body language, then you're kind of setting yourself up for a little bit of failure. And I'm not necessarily trying to say you're going to fail, but there's going to be a lot of trial and error when it comes to reptiles. So it is safe to start learning what your animal is trying to tell you so you can begin to better, to read everything. First things first, before we get to the next and what's probably going to be the final part of this video, is this really cool visual effect created by a shadow from the poll that I have my phone posted up on, which means whoever would like to donate, please pitch in for me to buy a tripod for this phone, because that's what I'm recording this on. But the last part about it is about having him for a full year is learning his personality. He is not necessarily the shyest snake, but he has definitely, the sweetest snake. One of the sweetest snakes I've ever known. Like, personally, he is definitely, he's not the type of snake that wants to be defensive with everybody. Like, everybody who's ever held him has asked me initially, does he bite? Has he ever bitten me? Boom, 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 all of this. And the answer is no. And I'm glad he has not, because in the beginning, I felt, like he wanted to. I even gave him a few shots some days where he was open to bite my hand just so he'll know I'm not trying to hurt him. And he has yet to, ever bite me. And hopefully today on this video, that won't be the day. But he's honestly the sweetest snake ever. Anyone who doesn't necessarily like snakes, who have met me and met him, have held him, and they have all said he is such a sweet snake, and they can't stop holding him after that. Like, even my sister, even though my sister loves snakes, she will sometimes steal him straight from me, and she'll be, sitting somewhere whenever she's here and hold him for like hours upon hours at a time, and to the point I have to be like, hey, that's my snake, right? But I absolutely adore Zebulon. Zebulon is honestly my favorite animal I've owned so far, and I honestly cannot wait to get another snake, just so we can continue this thing going on and going forth. But check out how big he is now, because when I first got him, he was nowhere near this big, and it took me like a little while to like notice, like, hey, you're starting to get a little big, because I know my mom will sometimes come to my room and she'll like say like, hey, he's out, he's starting to get big, and I'm like, oh no, he's still small. Till like some time ago, like maybe a few weeks back, I was looking at him, I had him out, and I noticed like he's literally the same length as my arm, and I know you guys can see that, but like it was one of the coolest things I noticed, but also one of the scariest things, because he's in a 40-gallon enclosure, which is about maybe 4 feet long, and he's starting to get as long as it. So I am gonna probably build him a new enclosure by the time he gets a little thicker, because that's what I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for him to start filling out a little bit more in terms of his girth. Then I'm gonna start working on building him a new enclosure, while also trying to get more snakes in a new place so I can sustain all these snakes. But without all of that in mind, he's honestly been such a blessing to my life. And if you're new to the channel, you're new to the reptile hobby, and you want to get into snakes, I firmly suggest that you go ahead and get you a snake. And it doesn't have to be a boa constrictor. You can get anything like a corn snake, ball python, whatever you're comfortable with or whatever you feel you're prepared for. But another thing that I do suggest is do not hesitate to reach out to someone who's kept, you know, various reptile species before and ask for advice on what to do properly. Because I had a little experience before working with snakes and, you know, especially boas and, you know, larger constrictors. However, I wasn't full of the knowledge of like what I was going to be into completely, and I'm still learning more about, you know, boas. But that doesn't mean, you know, you're not smart enough to take care of your animal. Sometimes, you know, you might need just a little bit of a extra push to like get you there to being an expert keeper. You know what I mean? So hopefully this video was informative to you. It was, you know, it enthused you to maybe get a snake, and if it did, thank you. And I can't wait to see some of you guys as some animals someday if you decide to buy some animals. But thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below if you do want to see more content like this where I go more in depth about keeping a boa or just whatever snake species that you guys want to hear about from my personal view, and other stuff like that. But I will tell you guys this, and it's not the typical outro. Thank you guys so much for this growth for the channel. I honestly couldn't have done it without you guys. I couldn't have done it without my mom, my brother, my sister, support from my family, support from the vendors, breeders that I met at the expo 2 weeks ago. I couldn't have done it, you know, without any of you. And I say thank you to everybody who tuned in to that last vlog, because it honestly helped put us on the map. And I don't mean us as in, you know, me, but I mean all of us who watch, you know, this channel. So I will say from the bottom of my heart, because we wouldn't have done this without the Most High Jesus Christ. So thank you so much for tuning in, watching, and hopefully we can get to that goal in building something brand new, because the story does not end here. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll be able to see you guys next time. This is Z and Zebulon, and we're out.